So, I want to talk about how we see things clearly and how we see things in regard to, for example, the election that's coming up. Um, I was watching Republicans and Democrats debate things. This wasn't politicians, this was just uh, civilian, normal human beings that were debating each other. And as they were talking to each other, they were talking past each other. It was like they were in two different worlds and they had two different sets of facts. And so one would say something and it would totally fall off deaf ears on the other, and the other would say something and no, but you don't understand. And yeah, it struck me like my wife and I, when we watch a movie, we watch two different movies, but we're watching the same movie as we're snuggling together watching it. But I'll notice that when we get to the war scenes, I'm riveted, right? The fighting, the whatever, I'm focused. And when we get to the, um, oh, he's come home from the fight and his wife and children. Now my wife is riveted, and I'm like, what's going on Twitter, right? I'm starting to, pick up my phone, and she does the reverse. And I think it's kind of like that. Now, who will win the election? It's really, really hard to tell, and I do my best to be um, as fair as possible and look at the news and try to let that guide it. Right now, this morning, the polls that I saw show that Harris is up in a couple of key swing states, and I mean, if that stays, then Harris could eventually win the election. But that's the polls that I saw just this morning. Yesterday and the day before, it looked the opposite for Trump. And so, okay, now you've got to be careful with the news sources that you take in. So, for example, I watch Fox, but then after I watch Fox, I'll flip over to CNN or MSNBC and see what they're saying and how they're saying something different there. I do that intentionally to get an alternate perspective in order to be able to see things as clearly as possible. So, you want to look to the other side for that perspective. You should do this too. And don't be afraid of the other side's perspective. It can change your view for the better, help you understand them more clearly at minimum. But if you're afraid of them, are you afraid that they're going to convert you? Like, if that's what you're afraid of, then your position might not be all that strong. So, we live in info bubbles. If you're in the Ukraine war news bubble, you're going to get a somewhat leftward slant to your news, generally speaking. Um, I know that myself, the people that I spend my time with, they're primarily conservatives like me. And so I know that they're not seeing everything accurately just because no, like if you spend your time with as many liberals as I spend with conservatives, you're not going to see that either, right? So you need to hear what the other side is saying. Now, I have this weird gut feeling that Trump will win, but that's because of the bubble that I'm in, not because of the facts. So I try to regularly review the polls because of I'm trying to get the facts, but the gut feeling comes from my experience, and that's not the same as facts. And the reason that I have that gut feeling, I'm not rooting for the guy. I didn't vote for him. The reason that I have that feeling is because the people that I spend time with, they tend to be like this. My environment tends to be like this. Like in my location, as I drive to work and to church and to the store and to bring my kids places, I've seen a total of three, count them, one, two, three Harris Waltz signs. Now, if you're in Minnesota, you see exactly the opposite, maybe with three Trump signs and lots of Harris signs. But where I am, it's a very conservative neighborhood where I've only seen three Harris signs and one Harris bumper sticker. And I've seen literally hundreds of Trump bumper stickers, yard signs, and flags. Never seen a Harris flag, right? So that's the environment in which I am. So that's what gives me the gut feeling. But I have to militate against that gut feeling and really push myself to see what's on the opposite side in order to see as clearly as possible. And we all like to think that we see clearly, but it's more likely that our views are distorted. So I'd urge you, rather than to say, well, all my friends say X, so this must be what it is, regardless of which side of the political spectrum you're on, to try to intentionally factor in other views so that you can see as clearly as possible until you don't have this distorted funhouse mirror effect that we tend to see because of our geographical location or who we spend time with or what social media we digest. I hope that helps you understand how we should be processing information as we move forward toward the election. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscribes, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.